Hey class, this is Think Central lesson 111. We're going to be working on reasonable answers, and another way to say that is estimation. If the answer is reasonable because you've estimated an answer that's close to that answer. So question number 1, it asks us to use a benchmark of 0, 1/2, or 1 to estimate the sum, then find the actual sum. So let's talk for a second about benchmarks. Benchmarks are basically rounding. So let's say I have a number line here, 0, 1/2, and 1. And if I have a fraction over here, I'm going to benchmark that. I'm going to round that down to 0. If the fraction is here, it's going to go up to a half. And here it's going to go down to a half. But anything over on this side would go up to 1. Basically, these are numbers that are compatible, easy to calculate mentally. It's easy to add 0, half, and whole. So that's what benchmarks are. It's basically a number that you can use to calculate the answer mentally without an algorithm. All right, so looking at the problem 1/3 plus 1/5. So let's go ahead and calculate the benchmarks for 1/3 and 1/5. So 1/3 is over here, and you would have a half right there. So basically that's a half. So this is going to round up to a half because 1/3 is closer to 1/2 than it is to 0. So you'd round that up to a half to get your benchmark. And then 5/8. So I have, I'm going to draw my eighths here. This would be 4/8 here. 5/8 would be here. So again, we're going to round that down to 1/2 as a benchmark. So this problem over here really becomes 1/2 plus 1/2. So our estimated answer is going to be close to 1 whole. So now we're going to get the actual answer and see what the actual answer is. Since they're unlike fractions, I'm going to go ahead and find a common denominator in this. I'm going to use multiples of 3 and 8. I'm just going to go ahead and do 24ths because 3 times 8 is 24. So you do to the bottom, you do to the top. I'm going to multiply the denominator by 3 and the numerator by 3 to give me 15 24ths as equivalent fraction for 5/8. And 3 times 8, 1 times 8, 8 24ths for that. So I'm going to add these two together, and I'm going to get 23 24ths. So you can see that 23 24ths is very close to 1 whole because 24 24ths would be 1 whole. And so my estimate is 1 and my actual answer is 23 24ths. So that is how we do it. So it is a reasonable answer. Problem number 3, asking us to use estimation to round the numbers and then find the actual sum. So 5 and 1/8, that's going to round down. That's going to round down to 5. Sorry about that. That's going to round down to 5 because 1/8 is closer to 0 than it is to 6. And 6 and 7/10, that's going to round up to 7 because those are the closest whole number. They're asking us to round it in there as whole, not a benchmark. So 5 and 7. So our estimated answer should be, since it's addition, make sure you check the operation. The estimated answer should be near 12. So now we'll find the actual answer. So first step I do is I separate the mixed number into wholes and parts. I have 5 and 6 would be 11. So I can go ahead and add that there. 1/8 and 7/10. So those are unlike fractions. I need to find a common denominator. Just to make it easy, I'm going to go ahead and use 80 on this. You could do 40 also because 8 times 5 is 40 and 10 times 4 is 40. Both of those are factors of 40. But just to make it easy, I'm showing you that if you multiply the denominators together, you will get a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply 7 times 8 is 56, and 10 times 1 is 10. So you end up with 10/80ths plus 56/80ths, which will give you 66/80ths. Now that is not a simple fraction, so I'm going to unsimplify that by dividing them both by 2, and that will give me 33 over 40. So the actual answer is 11 and 33/40ths, which turns out to be very close to our estimate answer of 12. So that is a reasonable answer. Problem number 5, again, we're estimating by rounding. So we take 5/7, and we're going to round to, you could do a benchmark, you could also do a whole number. Think Central doesn't tell us what we should be doing, but I will go ahead and use a benchmark. 5/7 is going to be close to a half, and 8/9 is going to be close to a whole. So by rounding those numbers to a benchmark of 0, 1/2, and 1, you'd end up with an estimated answer of 1.5. Then to find the actual answer, you will change these into like fractions. And again, I'm just going to use a multiple of 7 and 9. I know 7 times 9 is 63, so I'm going to use that as my common denominator. And multiply numerator and denominator by the same number, giving me 45 63rds and 56 63rds. I'm going to add those together. And again, use a calculator if you need to, or just practice your math facts. Going to end up with 101 63rds. Now I'll simplify that. 63 goes into 101 one time. Finding the difference of that ends up with 38. So the actual answer is going to be 1 and 38 63rds, which is very close to the 1.5 that I got. So your estimated answer will be 1.5 using benchmark fractions, and the actual answer is going to be 1 and 38 63rds. One thing I'll point out is if for some reason they're saying that this answer is wrong, because it's estimation, you can oftentimes estimate to the whole or the half. So you could do the view example here, click on view example to find out exactly what Think Central wants you to do. They may want you to go up to the whole, or they might want you to round to a benchmark. So doing the step-by-step or view example, if it says you're wrong, is the way to go to figure out what they're looking for in terms of an answer. Question 7, we've got a puzzled penguin. So we're going to need to identify an error here. Let's unpack it. I got 2 answers below marked wrong on the test. I got this one wrong, I got this one wrong. My friend got 100%. She says she always uses estimation to make sure she answers reasonable. Can you explain what he did wrong? For the subtraction, I rounded 4 and 1/4 to something, and rounded 2 and 7/8 to something, and got 2. And so it looks like he rounded not actually sure what he did, but you should have rounded 4 and 1/4 to 4, and rounded 2 and 7/8 to 3, so to 3. So you should have rounded this one down here, up here, and should have a difference of about 1, which is much lower. This answer is lower than his answer. He said the answer was 2 and 3/8. For using benchmark fractions for 7/8, you would have rounded that one up to 1, and 5/9 you would have rounded to a half. So it should have been, so your answer should have been close to 1.5. And I'm not sure what he did. Oh, what he did here is he added denominators and he added numerators. So that's kind of a knucklehead move. You're never supposed to add denominators. You're supposed to find like fractions. So that was his mistake on that part. I'm not sure exactly what he did on the first part. I don't know what he did on the first part. He's puzzle penguin, so he doesn't really understand math too well. Anyways, so that is the answer to number 7. But again, use the step-by-step and the view example on these to help you solve it, because it's about the learning, not getting the answer. All right, let's find out if this is reasonable. I'm going to go ahead and round that to 8. I'm going to round that down to 3. So the answer should be close to 11, and your answer is very close to 11, so the answer is reasonable. And the estimate should be 11. It's a fairly straightforward problem, just using rounding. And the final question, is the answer reasonable? Let's round that up to 3, and let's round that up to 2. So the answer, it should be 5, and your answer is nowhere near 5. You have 2 and a 12th. So I'm not sure how they got that answer or what they did, but the estimate should be close to 5, so your answer is not reasonable. So it's an unreasonable answer. Okay, well done. Keep building mastery. Remember, ask for questions. These are not test questions. These are to help you solve problems by thinking them through, and make sure you email the teachers and or use the step-by-step or view example when you're doing the work. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.